Okay, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to be very brief because the primary purpose of this press event is to allow National Grid to explain to the public exactly where they are in the restoration effort and specifically what comes next. As they will explain, we are at the point now where they are going to begin the process of restoring gas, and that is a very detailed process. It's going to be a challenge. They're going to have to go to every single home and business, and so I'm going to give them the opportunity now to lay out those details so that people can plan and we can get this done as efficiently as possible. I want to begin by thanking the residents of Newport and Aquidneck Island for your patience and your resilience, your hardiness. Everybody's digging in. Everybody's helping a neighbor and a family member. I can't thank you enough. I'm impressed. We're with you, and we're definitely, we're going to get through this, and I want to thank you all for what you've done. I want to thank everybody from the mayor on down in Newport who's pitched in and helped us. You've been tremendous. We're probably halfway there. We still have days to go. The longer this drags on, the more trying it will be. So I'm just continuing to beg for patience. And I will say, continue to reach out to us. Call the mayor, call National Grid, go to Gurney's, call 211. We're here for you, and we want to get you through this and see this through to the end safely. I want to give a special shout out to these folks behind me, most of whom are actually not from Rhode Island. They've been brought in from all over the country to work in Rhode Island, working around the clock to do the right thing and restore everybody. So thank you for the hard work. As I say, we're probably halfway through it, and we have the rest of the way to go. Safety is the key. Safety is the key. I'm going to turn it over to Terry and Ross, and they're going to go through the details. I'll simply say this. Don't try to relight your own pilot. It's dangerous. It's not worth it. We're going to keep everybody safe, and we're going to get to the end of this. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry from National Grid.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll reiterate the governor's thanks to all of the residents of Newport for their patience during this very difficult time. I do also want to echo our thanks for our crews. These folks behind me do the really important work of bringing our customers back on with their gas service. And it's really important to recognize the efforts of these folks who have been out and about 24 hours a day, not only for the work during the first phase of the restoration, but most importantly, the work that's ahead as we continue. I can report today that we have finished phase one, safely completing all of the shutoffs in Newport. And we are also, moments ago, we began phase two, the repressurization of the gas system. It's really important to understand that process will take several hours as we inspect, monitor, and verify the system's safety. It's a large and complex system, and we really have to be very deliberate and very specific about making sure that we do this in exactly the right way to protect the safety of our customers and their property. It's also important to recognize that we are not going to move forward to the next phase, the third phase of relighting customer services, until the repressurization is complete and until the system is stable. This is important because it brings up a couple of really critical safety messages. Please do not attempt to relight your gas service or do anything with your gas service on your own. It requires a qualified technician. It must be done once the system is fully stabilized, and it's critical that nobody takes this into their own hands. Given the fact that this will continue to drag out over a couple of days, I also want to ask folks and reiterate the messages that we've shared previously. Please have a plan. The governor has encouraged all residents to make sure that they get out of their homes, make sure that they find a safe, secure, and warm place to take care of themselves and their families. And we want folks to continue to do that and make sure that they've got a plan for the next couple of days as we work through the very specific and careful process of bringing service back to everybody's homes. And then lastly, on a bit of an administrative note, but still important, we've had some reports of folks knocking on customers' doors and asking for customers' account information. please know that no one should ask for your account information unless they present a National Grid identification badge. I'll repeat, nobody should offer their account information to anyone unless they present a National Grid identification badge. Again, we do appreciate everybody's patience in this. We will continue to provide some of the critical services specifically focused on shelter and food and keeping folks warm. What I'd like to do at this point in time is turn it over to Ross Turini, who will talk about some additional details relative to the repressurization process itself.
Thank you, Terry. So this morning we completed our quality control checks over ensuring that every customer on the Newport system has been shut off. Once we verified that, we started our repressurization procedure. That procedure will be going on today. We have mobilized crews out there, and about 11:45 this morning, we gave permission to activate the regulator station and start to repressurize gas in the system. This is a complex and time-consuming process. Now, for days, you've seen hundreds of our service technicians out in the areas, going door to door and shutting off everybody's home. What you're going to see now is a lull in that activity, as the service technicians are not needed during this piece of the process. We have smaller crews who are out there at the regulator stations and at what we call purge points that will be monitoring them. I do want to emphasize one safety piece during this. If you smell gas at any time, inside or outside your house during this process, or any time after this process, call our gas emergency number. And a little bit later, Terry's going to take you through that contact information. The way the process is going to work this afternoon is we are opening the valve and introducing gas into the repressurizing the gas main, which already has gas in it. We have to wait until the system stabilizes at 8 inches of water column pressure. We anticipate that the early start on relights will be this evening. If the process goes as anticipated, if it takes a little longer than anticipated, we anticipate a late start on relights being tomorrow afternoon. When we do later this afternoon, we will be purging the gas mains. You may get a small smell of gas during that. We don't anticipate that happening. But again, I just want to re-emphasize, during this process and after the process, if you smell any gas, right, you should call our emergency number and we will dispatch technicians immediately out there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Terry to talk about the customer communication. So it's unusual for you to smell gas, period, right? So regardless of whether there's an operation going on like this or not, you should call our gas emergency number or the 911 number and report it, and they'll get it to our company. Terry.
Thanks, Ross. So I'll make sure that I provide that number to folks. The number is 800-640-1595. Again, as Ross said, if you smell gas, please report it. 800-640-1595. And we will dispatch crews right away. Now, as we talk about the moving through the second phase, again, it will take a number of hours, but I realize that a number of folks are eager for information about what will happen after the system is back up and pressurized. The first and most important thing is that folks make sure that we have your most current contact information. If your phone number of record is your home phone number, we encourage you to call us up and make sure that we have your cell number in the event that you're away from your premise. The number to call to make sure that you've updated your contact information is 800-870-1664. And we can certainly repeat that later on. Those numbers will also be up on our website, and they'll be available at the specific microsite set up for this event, which is www.ngrid.com/Aquidneck. So please do utilize those resources for any information you would like with respect to the restoration process. I'll go through a few of those details now, and we'll certainly be able to follow up going forward. The first thing that will happen as we complete repressurization and stabilization of the system is that we will let all customers know through an outbound phone call, an automated phone call to everybody's phone number of record. That will let folks know that that technicians are dispatching to their neighborhoods, and that those technicians will be going door to door to relight as many homes as they possibly can in the initial phases. The work will have two important parts. First will be the broad effort to restore service. That'll be done in 19 zones across Newport. In each zones, we will have customer contact teams, making sure that we're able to dispatch information to folks as quickly as possible. We will be publishing on our website and through media the specific addresses where those customer contact teams will be located in your neighborhoods. They will be in each of the 19 zones. Beyond the broader scale restoration effort, we have set up a task force that will address the highest priority needs for the community. We've worked very closely with the mayor to make sure we understand what those priorities are. Generally speaking, of course, it's schools, shelters, and critical facilities. And we'll make sure that we take care of those with the designated task force, and we'll be working very closely on the communication with those folks to have access to those facilities. As the restoration process continues, what you should expect, if you're in your home, a National Grid technician will go to your home. They'll let you know that they're there to complete the relight process. They'll need to enter your home and relight each gas appliance. The process generally takes about 45 minutes, but of course that's dependent on the specific circumstances at your home or business. It's really important that you understand we need somebody who is at least 18 years of age in the premise to be able to do the work. If you're open for a technician or a team to restore your service late into the evening or morning hours, please leave your light on. That will indicate to us that someone is in the premise, is happy to be disturbed for us to restore their service. We'll go ahead and knock on the door and complete the process for you. If you miss a technician's visit, please again call that number that I provided, 800-870-1664, and let us know your availability, and we'll work carefully with you to make sure that we can restore your service at a time that is convenient for you, a time that you can be in your business or premise. Those are the details on the restoration process. Again, all of this information will be put out on our website, will be shared with media, and will be available through a number of key community teams and customer liaisons. Of course, that's through the teams that I mentioned that will be at each of the addresses in the 19 zones in Newport, but we will also have all of this information available at the key locations we've been using to date, including Gurney's, Gaudet Middle School, the shelters that we've been in touch with, and then also the key hotel spaces that customers are occupying. We'll be sharing information with those locations as well. And in fact, in two of them, we'll have liaisons there to specifically answer any questions that customers may have. Those two hotel locations are the Marriott Newport and the Mainstay Newport. With that, we'll be happy to take any questions. It'll likely look like one of our service vans, so we'll work with you afterwards to show you what one of those vehicles might look like. It's not these larger vehicles, these are our command vehicles. Thank you, Ted. When I say service van, it's a van that looks approximately like the one over my left shoulder.
Terry, you said there are people knocking on doors looking for account information. Are they illegitimate? Are there any legitimate people asking for account information?
I'm very sorry, I don't have any details on it. It was just something that was mentioned to me as I was coming here this morning. I really can't specify the nature of it.
Will be knocking doors looking for account information right now?
National Grid personnel will generally not be knocking on doors. I can say that we are asking for account information at Gurney's and Gaudet Middle School, where we're providing specific services to customers. There may be the rare instance where a technician might need a customer's information. I'm not sure that I can articulate exactly what that is now, but the very simple instructions, regardless, are to make sure that if anybody's asking you for account information, they present you with a National Grid badge that looks like the one that I'm wearing.
Are they going to need that account information to relight your
No.
services?
They will not.
Have you had any reports of problems with gas in Middletown after you've restored gas initially in the past few days? We heard some reports from customers this morning about saying they might have some gas problems again.
Thank you, Ross.
So we're constantly looking at our outages and reviewing the information. We had an inadvertent error where we dispatched some service crews out last night, and they inadvertently turned off gas to some houses that already had gas, and we're in the process of rectifying all that. So that's what happens last night. That was on us, our mistake.
But it's been restored.
It's been restored, or I hadn't gotten the last details. It was being in the process of being restored.
While we have you, I remember you mentioned some time frame, how long it may take to pressurize all the system. How long might that be?
All right, so I used two specific terms before. Early start on relights this evening, sometime this evening. Late start tomorrow afternoon. Last night, we constantly work at reviewing our procedures, looking at safety. I use this term a lot, belts and suspenders, right? Especially when it talks to safety, because no safety incident is acceptable. So we went and we added some more controls into that process to ensure that we will do this as safely as possible, right? So right now, based on our estimated times, early start on relights this evening, late start for the team would be tomorrow if things go at the tail end of the schedule.
And once the start happens, how long does it take?
So that all depends on access. We have over 600 technicians, and we continue to get more that are being mobilized to the site. That's why it's so important to work with Terry and his customers team to get access to the premises, because again, it takes about 45 minutes when we get in there, because it's not a simple process. We come in, we do safety checks, we make sure that the appliances are operating and running correctly, and the pressure is the right pressure. So that's why it's so important that you don't try to do this yourself. That's why we have these trained technicians here from all over the Northeast and multiple utilities to help us.
That's days. You think days?
Yes, it'll be several days as we work through this. And again, critical path is access to the
And it was
homes.
11:45 you started pressurizing?
11:45, I issued the order that they could start to repressurize the system.
At Portsmouth, they opened it up? So
No, this is not at Portsmouth. Portsmouth has been operational. That's a transmission gate station. We're using one of our regulator stations that feeds that low pressure system in Newport.
And how many hours will it take before it's completed then?
So these are tricky and complicated operations. They are very time consuming. That's why I've sort of bounded it with two terms. We think early start on the relights would be this evening, okay?
So you said 5 to 8 hours though for pressure?
Yes, but we've revisited that because of some additional controls that we put in place.
So it'll be longer than 8 hours?
It's very difficult to tell you exactly how long it's going to take.
But you're hoping early evening?
That's why we've set a goal for early start for this evening, which we think is attainable. But if there are complications as the days develop and we have to do other things to address those, we anticipate worst case late start tomorrow morning.
And what's done in the early start? Is that the critical facilities? Or?
So we have a task force that will be working on the critical facilities. We also have teams that will start in each one of the 19 zones, so we'll be doing all that work simultaneously.
Who are all the people behind you? Are they in the yellow?
So these are our service technicians from across National Grid's footprint. These are the guys who've been going door to door, working on shutting off the homes, and these are the team that'll be out there along with other utilities, and we see the guys from PECO standing behind us from all over the Northeast that have been kind enough to come here and help all of us and the citizens of Newport.
These people are ready to go out, once they get the order, to go out and start switching people back on.
Yes. We have teams working on the work packages so that as soon as we've got the system stable, we can dispatch the teams immediately. So there'll be no lag between the two.
And about how many people are going to be doing that?
We have over 600 now, and we continue to get more.
Possible to ask the governor a question?
Yep.
Hi. I was wondering, what is this whole experience and the fact that it's such a painstaking process to get gas service restored? Tell you about the fragility of the gas system.
It's a good question. We don't know what caused this, and rest assured we will get to the bottom of it. My Department of Public Utilities has already begun that investigation, and we've advised the federal regulators who regulate the pipeline to open an investigation, and I believe that that's happened. In this area, in New England, the infrastructure is old, and it is another reminder of the fact that we need to continue to have serious discussions around supply and also broadening beyond just natural gas and making sure that we have the infrastructure in place to fulfill people's demands. Having said that, we don't really know exactly why this was caused, and once we get through the immediate crisis, we'll begin the hard work of figuring that out.
Governor, Rhode Islanders off the island who are National Grid customers as well have some concerns that maybe this could impact them in how much they pay in the future. So how can you ensure that this isn't going to impact ratepayers?
That will all go into the calculation. The Department of Public Utilities is the regulator of National Grid, and they will do all that they can to make sure that this cost isn't passed on to the ratepayers. The first question is, whose fault, if anyone's, was it? Why did this happen? Who do you have to hold accountable? Why? And, you know, we'll go through that. Right now, my total focus is on the 10,000 people here on Aquidneck Island who have been incredibly burdened, and keeping them safe and restored as quickly as possible, and supporting National Grid so they can do this restoration effort quickly and safely.
How concerned are you that this could have been the kind of public safety disaster that happened up in Massachusetts?
I think it's different than that, but of course it's concerning. This is a huge event. It's 10,000 people, and we are taking it incredibly seriously. Yes. Yes. So on Monday, I declared a state of emergency with respect to Newport, and that should entitle us to some compensation from the federal government. So we're cataloging those expenses, and we will put in for reimbursement. Just like, no. Just the way we do it any time the governor declares an emergency. Like in the blizzard, we catalog the expenses, and then there's a process that we go through with the federal government to see what, if any, is recoupable to the state.
Does this qualify?
Yes. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't. Yeah, I mean, this is a huge emergency. 10,000 people. We've never seen anything like this, and we're going to get through it. We will get through it, and we are getting through it.
Last question.
A lot of people are wondering when they're going to get their money for the hotels. Can anybody from the company talk about that process? Maybe it's too early, but
Thank you for asking. For the claims process, we are encouraging folks to make sure they retain their receipts. They can initiate the claims process at the two locations previously mentioned, Gurney's and Gaudet Middle School. The forms are there, and our teams are there to help customers complete those forms to initiate the process. As the governor said, right now we're focused on restoration, so I can't give you an estimate on when those claims will be paid. We'll certainly turn our attention to that after folks have their gas service back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.